Welcome to all the panelists here. Before we begin this session, I will want the panelists to please introduce yourselves with a few sentences about the work that you do in the community network space on cultural diversity, preserving cultural diversity. Over to you, Ritu.
Thank you, Sarbani, and welcome to everyone, and good morning. I am Ritu, and I am working with the community Radio Bulbul, which is based in Bhadrak. And one of the reasons that we have gone that side as well, that we understand the cultural diversity which is really preserved by the radio stations in India. So that was one of the reasons we are operating a community radio-based community network, which is not only presenting the last mile information, but also providing the last mile access as well. We will discuss more about later in the discussion as well.
Good morning. My name is Bikash, Khatri. I am from Nepal. I work at Nepal Internet Foundation. Nepal Internet Foundation established a community network at a remote place of Nepal. Also connect the unconnected.
Hello everybody, I am K.Malik. I am from the University of Hyderabad. I am part of the UNESCO chair on community media, and I'm here today because we are working on a project which is an IPDC project on strengthening indigenous knowledge and languages through community radio. So I'll be talking about our experience of doing research in the field.
Hi, Farhan. I have some varied experience in this field. First was that we developed probably India's first, actually it was world's first Urdu implementation on computers, from designing keyboard to everything else. And from Urdu then we went to Saraiki, we went to Tibetan, did a lot of languages and scripts came onto computers first because of our initiative. And then I also established probably India's first pirate community radio station in Orvakal at Kurnool probably about 20 years ago. Before the community radios really, the licenses were being given out. And I also run a cultural space called Lamaka. People who are from Hyderabad would know about the space.
Yeah, thank you all the panelists. So I would like to begin the discussion with an understanding from you all that what has been the necessity for preserving or promoting cultural and linguistic diversity in the locations where you are working currently. There must be some. Might be that the community has asked for it, or it has been an initiative from the local government there or the Gram Panchayat. So I would like to understand from you first that what has been the necessity for preserving such cultural and linguistic diversity. Anyone can.
So I have also been involved in cataloging of Urdu books and journals in the 19th century, and the entire documentation of Indian freedom struggle, both the subaltern as well as above ground, has extensively been documented only in Urdu language. Hindi as an important language only emerged in the first quarter of 20th century. So now there is no government initiative to archive these books, to scan them, etc. I don't know if any one of you know about Rekhta Foundation, and we work very closely. In fact, tonight there's Jashne Rekhta in Hyderabad for the first time. So it's very important to preserve the history, right? Because it's only through history that you negotiate your own political space for any community. And increasingly what's happening is, and more because of internet, that a lot of, for example, languages are being reclassified as dialects. Bhojpuri is no longer a language now; it's just a dialect. Dakhini is no longer a language; it's a dialect. Although Dakhini has its own history of literature, etc. So scripts are vanishing, right? Almost everything is being written either in Devanagari or in English script. Rekhta, which is an Urdu website, 80% of its traffic is now from Hindi readers, right? So that's actually, it's also dangerous. It's also good in a way that, one language becomes accessible to more people. But on the other hand, there is something very core to a language in terms of preserving its script, right? There are a lot of languages where there's just one person alive now in India, 5, 6 such languages I can count.
All right. Before I reply to the question that you have raised, I must say that, I work in the area of community media, but I come here to a session by Digital Empowerment Foundation. I come in peace, in the sense that we at Community Radio advocate for, analog systems, right? But at the same time, we admit and acknowledge that community radio is a significant part of any of the community networks that are being set up, and all of them are very important for promoting cultural and linguistic diversity. All of this became very clear to us when, as I said earlier, as part of the IPDC project, we had gone to these various community radio stations that are working with indigenous people to preserve and promote their languages. So we selected about 5 community radio stations in the country, and this included Radio Brahmaputra in Assam, Radio Matoli in Kerala, Radio Vanya in Madhya Pradesh, Nityanan Janwani in West Bengal, Radio Dhimsa in Odisha, and they have been doing substantial amount of work with the indigenous communities in the respective regions that I just mentioned. So when we visited these stations, we conducted interviews with the key informants, with the organizers, with the organizations that have started these stations, and of course with the listeners themselves. So I could talk about all of them, but because there is shortage of time, I'm going to just mention Nityanand Janwani, which is in West Bengal, and they use community radio and they leverage that space in order to promote the local indigenous knowledge of indigenous language of Santali. So when we asked MANT, which is the organization that started Nityanand Janwani, they say we recognize the challenges of indigenous communities when the course of their development is decided by people who are non-tribal population. So it is very important that they are given a platform where they can talk in their own language about their issues. Right? So that was one of the main reasons that they thought about preserving and promoting the language and making programming in the language in which those people can express their perspectives. So if we look at the mission of Nityanand Janwani, it is to facilitate sustainable development, health, empowerment, there's livelihood generation, and all this is done through radio by addressing 2 things. One, the disregard for the voices of indigenous communities, and number 2, to eliminate basically what are called in academic language discursive erasures. That is, we provide the Nityanand Janwani provides a space where indigenous people can speak out. So the idea of setting up a station which will preserve, promote, and the indigenous language mainly is to give value to the voice of the indigenous communities.
Nepal is the home for 142 ethnic groups, and more than 120 languages have been spoken. Besides, it's a small country. Community network plays an important role in preserving local culture, language, and heritage. by empowering communities to take control to their communication system. From this stage, I want to share how Nepal Internet Foundation have been promoting culture and linguistic diversity through the community network. Nepal Internet Foundation have done many projects, community network projects. Beside that, I will explain from the Everest Community Network. Everest Community Network is the highest community network at the altitude of 4,000 meters at the Khunde and Khumjung village. It's nearby the Mount Everest, around 35 kilometers away from the base camp. We have established the community network at that village. To promote the culture and linguistic diversity, we have started the podcast, The Voice of Sherpa. From that podcast, we try to promote Sherpa homestay, culture, language, and many more things. And moreover, the story behind climbing the Mount Everest. There is saying that without Sherpa people, we can't climb the Mount Everest. So from that podcast, we have been trying to promote Sherpa homestay. Around more than 70,000 tourists visited to the Everest region. So people can go to the Khunde and Khumjung, stay with them, learn about the Sherpa people, communicate with them, eat their food. Beside that, Nepal is having biggest challenges in promoting cultural and linguistic diversity. Most of the marginalized community of Nepal, or rural community of Nepal, people are migrating rapidly to the big cities or globally in search of jobs, education, health, so that they are forgetting their own culture while adapting the international culture or other cultures. Adapting international culture or other cultures is not bad, but forgetting own culture is that is the biggest problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think my fellow colleagues have already set up a context as well. So when I started a community network with the radio station Radio Bulbul, which is based in Bhadrak, and it's one of the minority regions. Having said that point, India itself has a 121 languages, and Odisha itself has a 21 dialects. Most of the languages are becoming a dialect, as you mentioned. They are no longer official languages as well. But then when we started the we went to the radio station. It's a time of a COVID when we went there. We thought about why do we need a radio station to be set up. There are three major reasons that we thought about it, because one of the thing is the technical infrastructure, which already they have it, tower, clearances of a SACFA license and other structures. Another stronghold is a community hold, and the cultural that the whole they have it with in terms of that they do understand the community needs, they understand the cultural requirement, they understand the requirements, what exactly is required by the surrounding people, and they do speak a language of a local people. They do not speak a language of a who are coming from outside, but they do speak a language of a local, and they do understand the easily what it. So when we were establishing our community network, we stood up with the radio station, and we understand that we can't be with the web-enabled platform. We need to provide some level of a voice-enabled services, because radio station is having a broadcasting, they are doing a narrowcasting, but what after the radio programs are over? Because radio programs are over, and then what will they do it? So we place the entire content on the local web as well as on the IVR, which is operating on a local or also on the GSM band. That makes a very unique structure, because anyone who would like to listen the program later on as well, they can dial from their feature phone, and they can still listen the programs as well, which help them a two-way communication, also to understand that what exactly the radio station is providing, and also that when they can listen the other side of the programs. Odisha is also the native of many festivals which keeps on happening on the every day. The local folk songs, they do want to listen it, but it's not every day in an FM radio station. They do not play those folk songs. songs. So that kind of a cultural preservation is also coming through those radio stations and also through the network as well. So this is the one of the major means that when we are, it's an effort to try to preserve the local cultural, but also to preserve the local dialect, and also giving an opportunity to the local people to share their local songs and everything, every other means of the communication as well.